If everybody could please remember the family of Louis Gruntz, a very devoted grandfather and father to his family, a great colleague to each of us here in the city of Kenner, and a wonderful friend to quite a lot of us, a man who devoted his life to public service, governmental public service in the legal profession for the majority of his life, who started out working for the former city attorney here in Kenner, Hubert Weidenstein, who hired him in Jefferson Parish, and he went on to a career of almost 30 plus years in Jefferson, and spent his last 8 months here with us in Kenner, basically filling Mr. Weidenstein's role as the city attorney, and he did an outstanding job, and he will be sadly missed by all of us in City Hall and to a lot of the constituents he represented as their city's attorney. So please remember him and his family in your prayers. Thank you.
Councilman Reno.
Mic on. Let us bow our heads and remember that we are in the presence of the Lord. Lord, we thank you for this day and for all of our many gifts. Father, we pray to you for those members of our community who are sick and for all who are ill and in need of your healing. Show your mercy as you close wounds, cure illness, mend broken bodies, and free downcast spirits. May they find consolation in your healing presence, lasting health, deliverance, and in so join us in thanking you for all your gifts. Lord, we pray for all the members of our community and family who have died, with a special intention for our co-worker and friend, Louis Gruntz Jr. Have mercy on them all and bring them into your kingdom of peace, light, without end. As you told us in Scripture, John 14, 1 through 3, do not let your hearts be troubled. You have faith in God. Have faith also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If they were not, would I have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back again and take you to myself, so that where I am, you also may be. In this faith we pray, Lord. Amen.
Councilman Impastato, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B-14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Madam Chairman, I've received a request to suspend the council rules to amend the agenda to include item 13A, a resolution approving the appointment of Michael J. Power as interim city attorney for the city of Kenner.
Motion by Councilman Reno, seconded by Councilman Conley to suspend the council rules. All members, please lock in your vote. I have a blank. Do you have a blank screen? I have a blank screen, please.
I did begin vote. Two pending votes.
Okay, I got it now. I did it. Said out of range. Came back on.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilman Reno, seconded by Councilman Conley to amend the agenda to include item 13A. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object? Please come forward now. Hearing none, all council members please vote and lock in your vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Madam Chairman, I've also received a request to change the order of business to hear item 18A at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay. At the beginning of the meeting. Move 18A to the beginning of the meeting. Motion by Councilwoman DeFrancis, seconded by Councilman Klein. Madam Chairman, do we need a vote on that?
Yes.
Everyone, please vote and lock in your votes.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
I would like to ask some members of our audience who are here tonight to please come to the mic. We have Senator Smith, we have Representative Ms. Julie Stokes, and we have our state senator also, Danny Martini. Pardon me? Tom, I didn't see Tom. I apologize. Tom Wilmot, hard not to see you, Tom, so I apologize. Would you all please come forward and again just state your names for the record, and we would love to hear from you. Thank you.
For the 20th time in a row, I'm Danny Martini.
For the second time in a row, I'm Julie Stokes, State Representative in North Kenner and North Metairie.
Good evening. I'm State Senator Gary Smith. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this evening.
Thank you.
And Tom Wilmot, District 92. Thank you.
Whoever would like to address this, the council first and the administration as well as our audience, please step forward to the mic.
The old ladies go first. It's a blessing and a curse.
We have gentlemen here, Ms. Stokes.
Huh?
We have gentlemen here.
I know, we really do. We really do. And I'll tell you, these are three fine gentlemen to work with. They really are a pleasure. We have a great group in Baton Rouge. Our Kenner delegation is great. Our Jefferson Parish delegation is wonderful. We really have a good group up there, and I'm honored to serve with all of them. And I'd like to open just by extending congratulations to all of you. I haven't gotten to appear here since you all are newly elected, and some of you have become council president. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But the sincerest of congratulations and best wishes for a successful term. One of the things that we did in the legislature this year was there was a bill that we needed to pass in order for Lake Town to be able to go out for RFP so that we could begin the development at Lake Town. And we were able to get that bill through. So I can't wait to see when that process starts and we get our development started at Lake Town, because that's going to be very exciting for our city. Another big important thing that we were able to accomplish this year, and we're still working on, are capital outlays. The main capital outlay that we were requested within my district was for Lake Trail, who's had significant flooding issues because of the drainage off of the levee, and we were able to obtain $1,040,000 for this project, and of course that included an overfunding of $280,000. I asked for $800,000, and they forgot that there was already $40,000 in there, and that I put another $200,000, but I didn't mean 800 plus 200, and I think Senator Martini had also put some money in. So, being that capital outlay right now is so overcommitted, HB2, as you might have read in the newspapers, is significantly overcommitted. So I went to the Division of Administration and let them know that as long as we can get our capital outlay through the bond commission, that we would be glad to take the $760,000 that we need and free up that money for them. So I'm really hopeful that that goodwill gesture will help that money come through. Right now, of capacity remaining, approximately 23% of the dollars that are out there to be funded will actually get funded. So I think that those sort of goodwill measures hopefully will go a long way. I'm very optimistic about our 23% chance and would bump it up considerably. We won't know until the October Bond Commission meeting. In September, they're not going to do the priority two, which would be priority two. They're only going to do ones again in September. So we'll find out in October. And then the last thing I wanted to kind of just touch on, because we got way too many of us, is tax amnesty. Since I'm on Ways and Means, and that's one thing I want Kenner residents to really know about, we have another tax amnesty that's coming, and it was bumped up to be considerably larger in nature than it was going to be. It's going to run from October 15th to November 14th. and amnesty will be granted on eligible taxes, which is most taxes. Most people would be eligible for this. And that if you can enter into an installment agreement too, which is new, you can't always do that. You will be able to get an agreement if you can pay the tax, half of the interest due, and all fees and costs. And then, if it's approved, the Secretary of the Revenue Department can waive the remaining half of the interest and penalties associated with the tax periods. So it's a great deal. The state needs the money. So we'd appreciate, to be glad to give that opportunity for people that need that assistance. So thank you for having us here, and I'm going to turn it over to one of these gentlemen. They can decide who.
All right, I guess that was passed to me. Good evening again, Gary Smith. I want to also echo my congratulations to all of you. We have, as you, several new members, and serving is such an honor. As I know y'all will find out, it's a pleasure, and when you are confirmed by a vote of your peers out there, it's a very humbling experience. And I just want to congratulate you all for having the trust of your peers and your constituents out there to represent them on this august body. Julie said a lot. She really did a good job of summing some things up. It was a tough session up there. It was a general session in Baton Rouge, which meant we spent 3 months up there, and you could file any type of bill other than a revenue-raising measure. With that, there was about just shy of 2,000 bills that were filed that we dealt with over the 3-month period. And, they were truly everything under the sun, from tax amnesties and from domestic violence and health care and education, Common Core and lawsuits, all the way down to some of the little mundane things like what state university would you like to put on your driver's license logo if you want. So we really handled a whole gambit of things, but probably to me, two of the most important things we did, and we do every year, is we take care of the state's budget. And so this year was unfortunately no different than the last 4 years. We had a deficit that we faced as we walked into session, and we had to deal with a shortfall of dollars to make a continuation budget happen. I think we did a fairly good job of spending the taxpayers' money wisely and putting things into putting money into education, into health care, into important areas that are needed for our constituents and for our citizens of this state. And at the end of the day, we came out with a $24.6 billion budget that was actually $800 million less than the previous year. So we're doing a good job of reducing the budget in Baton Rouge, reducing the money that we're spending for our taxpayers, but yet it's still at the same time putting money into TOPS and into MFP and into health care and to NOW waivers and giving money to local governments and whatnot. So I'm proud of that. The other thing was the capital outlay budget, which Julie mentioned as well. We had a very tight capital outlay budget. We had a $6 billion, just shy of $6 billion is what we passed in our capital outlay bill. And of that, only $466 million were new projects. So, I mean, you can see the backlog of projects that we have in there. And unfortunately, like Julie again was mentioning, the 23%, we only have, at the time of passing the bill, $56 million worth of money that's actually going to be distributed to new projects. And that's changing every day. And so we're hopeful to expand that as things get shifted around, and Priority 1 and Priority 5 projects aren't far enough along to take all the money that they need. So we're hopeful. But in that, we have some good things. We have some of the things Julie mentioned. We've got several projects here for Kenner on the list. One of the projects that's underway right now that we got was the raising of Airline Highway over at the Kenner, at the Jefferson-St. Charles line, so that hopefully come any unfortunate event, storms or whatnot, water events, we won't have to put those sandbags across Airline Highway to prevent the water from possibly coming from one side to the other. Even though we're totally levied off if there's a breach, we're going to still protect either Jefferson from St. Charles or St. Charles from Jefferson. So I think that's a good thing, while leaving the emergency access still open for our citizens to be able to traverse. Again, it's a pleasure being here with y'all. We're here to serve with you all, and anything we can do to help you in Baton Rouge, please don't hesitate to call upon us. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and I congratulate everybody as well on their recent elections and being here today. And thank you for having us here today as well. I even noticed that some of the decor has changed, even the voting machines and so forth, which looks very nice, and I believe it's going to serve you all well. I want to make sure everybody understands that where my district is, just so you have an understanding, and as well as the people. We all represent our various districts. I serve House District 92. 92 includes Middle and South Kenner, as well as parts of Metairie, St. Rose, and Bunch Village. So it's a kind of a different district, but the bulk of it is in Kenner. I serve on 4 committees. They are Health and Welfare, Ways and Means, Municipal, Parochial, Cultural Affairs, and Joint Capital Outlay. I also serve in the Jefferson Parish Delegation. And with portions in St. Rose now, as a redistricting, now going to St. Charles too. My district office is just 1 block up the street here. It's actually on Williams and 20th Street. So you know where you can contact me. I have somebody there, a legislative assistant, there 5 days a week. We respond to questions and complaints involving state issues all year round. So if you have an issue, please contact my office or myself directly. That's fine. Louis and Michelle are my legislative assistants. One of the 2 of them will be there at all times. One works 2 days a week, the other works 3. In the past, I have been instrumental in advancing various types of projects within the district, as well as the Kenner area. Many of them involve resurfacing roads, replacement of traffic barriers, adjustments to crosswalks, fixing malfunctioning traffic lights, pedestrian crossing lights, striping, signage, barriers, flood protection, drainage, sewage, and airport improvements. This year, in HB 2, which is the capital outlay bill, I was successful in obtaining $100,000 to be applied towards a drainage project, which is located at Idaho and 26th Street, and $125,000 to sewage project citywide. However, at present, roughly only 1/3 of all those projects are actually going to make it through the process. The bonding commission eventually will hear all these things throughout the entire state, and whether they are successful or not, right now it's about 1/3 of those projects will be successful. But even that is subject to change, could increase, decrease. I have a few things I want to say, so please bear with me. I was also involved in a statewide flood control project for University City, Audubon Place subdivisions. And I'm pleased to say that I understand that total projected amount to be funded for this project through the state is slightly over $3 million. But I'm unhappy about it that Lincoln Manor subdivision apparently was not included in this flood project. Councilman Carroll, Mark Spears, and I attended a Lincoln Manor Civic Association meeting along with engineers of the city and parish back in 2012 to address these issues. They do have serious drainage problems throughout that area. Lincoln Manor was included in a request for 24 capital outlay, and I'm glad to see that they were, but it did not survive the process. So I asked the city of Kenner to include them in their submission for both the November 1st, 2014 deadline for capital outlay and before the May 2015 deadline for the statewide flood control project. This subdivision, again, has serious flooding problems, and they need help. The sooner the better. I also ask that the parish do the same for any flood projects related to this area in Kenner. Additionally, I understand, and this is important to note, that the DOTD will be conducting a road show by going throughout the state, asking local citizens to attend and talk about their complaints regarding structural problems with roads as well as flooding problems. It is believed that they will be in the Metairie-Kenner area sometime in the later part of October. If the citizens have a problem of this type, I strongly suggest that they attend and voice those concerns. If interested, look to the media advertisement because it should be coming up as it gets closer. I was told that they're going to be advertising, probably on TV and probably the newspapers. Some highlights of legislation that I've authored, of course, were the fight against the Southwest Regional Airport Authority. Although it was created by Kenner and Kenner maintained some control over it. with the help of the Kenner delegation. That, if you remember, that bill, this council back then went ahead and gave us a resolution fighting that entity in its existence. That entity technically had expropriation powers. They had expropriation powers, which was a problem. So I filed a bill, and the actual entity was actually repealed. Also, I had a CPR bill that I think was important. Children in high schools will actually be able to do CPR. It's a requisite to graduate from high school. Federally qualified health care facilities, I support those. We do have one bordering the Kenner area on Jefferson Highway. Very important. We have approximately 3,000 citizens or residents in this area that get treated there annually. And also, a mailer will be going out on the November 4th ballot regarding 14 constitutional amendments. And if you have any interest in that, of course, in advance, you can go to www.legis.la.gov. Members of the council, resolutions are important to us. Please use them at your will, and it indicates what we need to know, what we need to do in Baton Rouge. I hope for the opportunity to meet each with one of you in the future, and I'm glad to address any questions y'all may have at this time.
Thank you, Representative Wilmot. Senator Martini, would you like to say a word?
Yes, first off, thanks again for having me here. Like I said, this has been my 20th trip up here, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I've had the opportunity to work with, I think, 5 mayors and different administrations over the years that I've been here, and I think I've probably worked with all of you in some form or fashion, even when you weren't in elective office. Probably the chief probably had the opportunity to pull me over for speeding or something but again, my sincere congratulations to all of you for your well-deserved election victories. On the other hand, I would like to offer all of you, and particularly my 3 colleagues up here, my deepest sympathy on what I think is probably a tragic loss which occurred in the last week. And I know Julie hasn't been there that long, but I had the pleasure to work with a guy that I think had a better grasp of the legal aspects of local government, and that was Louis Gruntz. He was invaluable. These people probably won't know how invaluable he is because he's not going to be up there, but whenever we had a question on a home rule chart or anything, he knew what he was doing, and he did a very good job. And I think it's a tragic loss, not only to his family, but to the citizens of Kenner and Jefferson Parish. So with that, I would just say this. I'm not going to bore y'all with some of the legislation that I've done over the last several years, but I do want to make you aware of our availability. I don't think I have to talk to the man right here in front of me, Mr. Yanni, because he knows about it. But you will get a letter from me in the next several weeks, basically saying, look, the legislature, you need to pay attention to what we do. If there's an issue that concerns you, you ought to come up. Every Tuesday, the Jefferson delegation has a lunch, which y'all are more than welcome to come up there. And if you have to come some other day, come on up, and I'll treat you to lunch in the Senate dining room. We don't let all these guys in the Senate dining room, but we'll get y'all in there. But it's important, I think, that you stay engaged. I would say to you that of the public officials local officials that I have worked with over the years, Kenner is always engaged. And that's important. So again, my thanks to you for all of your support in the past. I will say this: if you notice, I don't come to these meetings unless you ask me to come to these meetings. But if you do ask, I will be here. But I strongly encourage you to take advantage of our hospitality up there and come on up and see us. But again, thanks a lot, and appreciate it.
Thank you, first of all, to Representatives Wilmot and Stokes and Senators Martini and Smith. And I would like to thank Councilman Impastato for arranging to have them come here. Councilman, would you like to address them or say something to them, other than thank you? And again, thank you for the kind words. I got to know Mr. Gruntz while he was here, and I really appreciated his intelligence, his demeanor in working with people, and again, his knowledge was incredible, and he will be missed. Mayor, I believe you would like to address
Yes.
the councilman.
Lady and gentlemen, now I want to thank you all very much for everything y'all have done for us. Representative Stokes, thank you so much for all your hard work on the Lake Town issue, because, I mean, the legislation she's helped us pass is going to help make some monumental changes out in Lake Town, and we're moving forward with that. We're very close to going out for RFP. In fact, the state is reviewing it right now, and, we're gonna keep moving. Mr. Gruntz was an integral part of that also, and that's why we want to have a seamless transition in the city attorney's office, so we keep this city on the roll that it's on right now. And of course, some time ago, I met with Senators Martini and, which was it? You were in the meeting for the DMV, right? OMV. Okay, I just want to make sure I had that right. It was so long ago, but the OMV has really taken off in Kenner. And, when I told these two senators that, we need to make things happen in Kenner and make the residents of Jefferson Parish have an OMV to go to. Call us spoiled. We've always had one in Jefferson Parish. For a lot of us, we always remember it in the city of Kenner. And when I sat down with them and I told them what had happened, they were shocked, immediately got on the phone with the state police and made things happen. And we were able to cut the ribbon on that OMV not too long ago, and it has been an outstanding success. It's a convenience for Kenner, and we were able to take an old building that needed a lot of tender love and care, put some money into it, and now we're getting reimbursed from the transactions that take place out there. And again, I can't thank them enough for their help and everything they do for us when we do go up for those Tuesday lunches, which are very important. And I would encourage all of the council to try to make some trips up there and meet with them, because a lot of things happen kind of on the whim, and we got to get some things changed in legislation that has to go out there. And they've been fighting an uphill battle with the budget in the state and trying to help us out with capital outlay. And of course, Councilman Reno and I know too well how well Ms. Stokes also helped out with Lake Trail. That's something that's in the pipeline, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that it gets funded, because that is a major drainage concern for District 3 in North Kenner. And she just took the bull by the horns and took it to town on that one. So I thank y'all for all y'all do for us in Baton Rouge. I know it's tough on them to have to stop their lives and go up there for 3-4 months and make things happen and commute back and forth, and they do a good job representing Kenner. And I tell you, I was very concerned when term limits happened, especially up there with the delegation we had. I mean, Representative Martini at the time was part of a very powerful delegation, the Jefferson delegation. And I guess you're probably the senior member now?
I'm only 20 years behind John Ilario.
Oh, wow, I'm so sorry. How could I forget that, Danny? All right, you're the senior.
But I am the longest continuous serving Republican in the league.
All right, there we go. Danny, I knew you held some title up there.
I'll make that up.
I knew that when my former city attorney, Mr. Conley, and I would make visits up there, we'd be standing outside of Senate hearing rooms waiting to find out what was going on, and they said, don't worry, Senator Martini will be here, he'll be here. All of a sudden, we're in the room, and somehow he just appeared. We don't know if there was a trap door, we don't know if it was a hidden doorway, but all of a sudden he appeared, and he made things happen for us. And Danny, I'm impressed. Even though you're half the man you used to be, you even get you get way more results. So thank you for y'all's service. I appreciate everything.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank y'all.
Perry. Councilman Reno? I believe there are other council people who would like to address you all.
I'm sorry. I want to thank, I want to just reiterate what the mayor just said. Thank our entire Jefferson Parish delegation, legislative delegation, and especially want to thank Julie Stokes. I mean, it seems like anytime I call her and say, I need help with this, I need help with that, she's there. Not that y'all don't do the same, because y'all all do. You're very attentive to us in our needs.
Keep calling her.
Yeah. She's better looking too, I mean, it's easy to talk to.
Is that a compliment? You better pick a higher bar.
But thank you. I mean, District 3 is definitely a winner this year in this last session that you had. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And, I learned a lot this session about capital outlay and how that really works. And so I really was able to pull off a lot of good things, and really learned about getting the money into the bill and not just the little allocation that we get on Ways and Means. And so they tell me that I'm the most annoying representative, and I consider that to be a very high compliment because I'm not leaving them alone until the thing is paid for and financed. So anyway, thank you. And
Ju-
please,
Julie,
let
just
us
so
know
you-
your priorities.
Just so you know, Julie, that's how Maria survived this long.
Well, I tell you what, that's a very good honor,
Thank you.
Councilman DeFranco.
We agree, right?
That's right.
Well, we appreciate you all, and we love you all, and hope y'all are all in good health. I know Danny had a little scare, but, great. Thank you so much.
I would like to
you have a quick
say
comment you'd like to make?
that, I did get the pleasure of working with Louis Gruntz doing that Lake Town bill, and I didn't think to say it earlier, and I would like to also say to the family and to all of us who lost him that he really was a wonderful man and that he will be very missed. And he just was such a pleasure to work with on that, and I was so shocked to see that that had happened. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and thank you so much for having us here.
Councilman Carroll, I believe you have a quick comment you'd like to make as well?
Thank you, Madam President. Also, I'd like to thank Senator Smith, my particular senator, Senator Martini, who also have served the residents of District 1, Representative Stokes, and Representative Wilmot, who is also the representative for South Kenner. Thanks for coming. Thank you guys for all of your support. Like we all have said, that we believe we have one of the most endearing, most concerned representatives in the whole state. So when there is a question, to be able to call you guys up, you return phone calls, address the issue. If there's something you need to find out, you find it out for us, and to be able to support, not only from a financial end, but also to be able to spread information to us that we need to better serve the people who we represent. So we want to thank you for all of that. Particularly, specifically like to thank Representative Wilmot for allocating, along with you guys' support, the $3.5 million for the statewide flood protection, which is obviously within the Lincoln Manor subdivision, the Audubon subdivision, and University City are some challenges that the individuals who have lived there for many years are still dealing with, and we only could get better each time. I'm ecstatic for the University City and for the Audubon, but like Representative Wilmot said, there was a meeting with Representative Spears, with himself, with me, with the Lincoln Manor Civic Association, Mr. Gonzalez, also with the parish's Public Works Director, and we addressed the concerns specifically in the Lincoln Manor subdivision as it related to safety, as it related to subsurface, getting larger pipes for the drainage, as it relates to that will help the situation, but also understanding that there will have to be some infrastructure changes for increasing the capacity of the pumping system. Now, I'm no expert, but I knew that. But Mr. Gonzalez, I would like to ask, when we submitted this request for the monies, was the Lincoln Manor subdivision included within that statewide program? And if not, how did that happen that they were not part of this $3.5 million?
That sort of predated me. No, Lincoln Manor was not included as part of the statewide flood control program. It was a three-phase project that was particularly geared towards the Audubon Place subdivision and not Lincoln Manor, but University City. However, we have placed, the Lincoln Manor subdivision drainage improvement project, as well as the resurfacing of 30th Street between Loyola and Duncan under the capital outlay program. Unfortunately, we have not been able to obtain the necessary funds under the capital outlay to advance those projects to a design phase.
So when we had this meeting, this was with Mr. Reddy. Are you saying that when we had this meeting in 2012, and you were not the director at this time?
That's correct.
And I guess for the information not to be able to be funneled, it's not your fault, but it seems as if the information should have been presented for the Lincoln Manor subdivision to gain these monies to support it. And as much as I'm happy for the Audubon and for the University City, I'm kind of disappointed, like Representative Wilmot said, that Lincoln Manor is not part of this.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
The application process for the state floodwide program is very, very complicated. We just don't apply for that. We have to hire consultants to fill that out, and Councilman DeNapolis paid a significant amount of money
That's true.
for his district, out of his district funds, to actually make the application. So that's, you just don't apply. I mean, it has to be a lot of, there's got to be modeling, there's got to be a lot of preliminary work. It's a very complicated application process. So, we'd have to hire, we just don't fill, it's just like fill out an application. It's very complicated, and you need a lot of information even to get the ball rolling. And then it's very competitive, and just the fact that you've spent the money for a consultant to fill out the application doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it. So, this is something that money has to be budgeted, and a consultant has to be hired just to fill out the application. So that's why we got it for that. There was a commitment made by the councilman in that district, and like, again, he knew at the time that it was a risk that he took, and he was willing to take it, and that particular area was fortunate enough to get that money.
Yeah. So I want to commend Councilman DeNapolis, obviously, and if it meant the information that he understood that he had to spend a certain amount of money to get experts or whatever to put us in a position to get the funds, then I guess it's part of is something that I dropped the ball on. So I'm asking if this was done within the context of putting the right representative, the funding to get the right experts, can this also be done? And maybe Representative Wilmot can also support, if there another period we can apply for these monies. And if so, the process, I would like to talk with Mr. Gonzalez just to make sure that I am doing the correct thing to put the Lincoln Manor subdivision in the best position to get the funding. Representative Wilmot, is there another time frame, or is there a deadline that could you please share that with me, or with us, please?
Yes, Councilman Carroll. My understanding is that application for that project would be May of 2015. So we got plenty of time to do so.
So, Mr. Gonzalez, if Representative Wilmot, I say May of 2015, like I said again, I apologize from not having the due diligence to do what I have to do, but I don't want to mess it up again. So I would like to ask your support so you and I can talk after this to see what I have to do to get this ball rolling it's not guaranteed, but at least put ourselves in a position to support the Lincoln Manor subdivision.
Absolutely.
You've been there a while. So I want to get with each.
I wouldn't want to do what you guys do.
Okay. Well, but I do want to lean on each of y'all, particularly Tom. You know, you're my main source in my district. Gary, Danny, and Julie, you'll be the backup vote since you're next door. So I do look for me to come up there, guys, to work. Lady will work with y'all, and do want to do what we can to ensure Kenner gets what they need. And Danny, good, again, I know Keith, I'm glad to see your health is much better.
Thank you.
I was worried. Thank y'all.
One of the things I did want to mention is that the capital outlay requests are due on November 1st, and I met with Ruby, as I'm sure, I think Danny did as well today, and that one of the projects that's being talked about is very important in Kenner is going to be the Parish Line Pump Station. And so, you know, is to kind of get that clarification from the city of Kenner as to what projects are going to be the most important to you guys so that we know how to proceed. So, thank you.
I worked with each of y'all when I was with the administration. I can't stress, and I know people have attested to this, how responsive you've been, how active you are up in Baton Rouge. And if people would just see what our delegation does for us, they'd be very proud. So I want to thank you, and I look forward to working with you now in my new position. So thank you for everything you've done.
Councilman Klein?
I want to thank our senators and our representatives for all the help you've given Kenner, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you. And I want to say one thing about Louis Grunts. I've known Louis for a number of years, decades, and I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him, despite the fact that he was a lawyer.
Thank you all for coming. You all have been great to work with. Every time I've ever dealt with a problem, you all have been open-minded, you've listened, and you've worked with us, and we appreciate all you do. Thank you for being here tonight.
Madam Chairman, if I could add, you know, something that Danny did touch on with Louis. When Louis was with Jefferson Parish, he spent most of the legislative session up in Baton Rouge. So he was up there with, I'm sure with Tom and Danny and probably Gary. Julie wasn't up there at the time, but I'm sure they got to know him, and he did a great job working with the entire legislative delegation for all of Jefferson Parish. And at his eulogy, he does like lawyer jokes, so that was appropriate, Lenny.
He will be missed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for all you do. We don't have anything. We don't have a screen. Okay, we're going to move forward at this time anyway. Again, the consent agenda. Move on the consent agenda. Councilman Conley. Motion by Councilman Conley, seconded by Councilman Reno. You want to do an oral vote since we're having problems? If you like, we could do oral votes till you're able to address the problem.
She's got to read the consent agenda.
Right, but I'm just saying, would you like us to do oral votes till we
Yeah.
can address the problem? Would that be acceptable? No, okay.
The consent agenda, item 1 is approval of minutes. The regular council meeting of August 21st, 2014. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Divine Mercy Catholic Church on October 10th, 11th, and 12th,
That's why I said we could
2014
do
at
oral votes until we can
4337
fix it.
Salentini Parkway, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1832-14, Race to the Lake LLC to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a 5K, 10K road race and Treasure Fest on October 11, 2014, from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Lake Town, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3B is application number 1833-14, Big Easy Mopar Association to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a car show to benefit the Children's Hospital on March 14, 2015, from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Lake Town, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3C is application number 1834-14, Kenner Police Department to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a National Night Out Kickoff Party on October 12, 2014, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Lake Town, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3D is application number 1835-14, New Orleans Track Club to hold a public gathering for for the purpose of a foot race in conjunction with Oktoberfest on October 18, 2014, from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Rivertown, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3E is application number 1837-14, South Lake Villages to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a Halloween block party on October 31st, 2014, from 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Cotton Bayou Drive, South Lake Village, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3F is application number 1838-14, Johnny George Jr. to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a block party on October 11, 2014, from 1 p.m. to 12 a.m. in the 3100 block of Jasper Street in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3G is application number 1840-14, City of Kenner to hold a public gathering for the purpose of Movie in the Park on October 4th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. in Heritage Park, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3H is application number 1841-14, City of Kenner to hold a public gathering for the purpose of Movie in the Park on October 3rd, 2014, from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. in Heritage Park, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, and/or department heads. We have none. Item 5 is acceptance, rejection of bids requiring expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 6 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We have none. Item 8 is the re-subdivision ordinances for final passage. We have none.
Motion by Councilmember Conley, seconded by Councilmember Reyno on the consent agenda. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We are now in the public hearing portion.
Yes, ma'am. The public appearance agenda. Item 9 is public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,748, an ordinance declaring no longer needed for public use a portion of Sharon Street right-of-way located between Canal Number 14 and 24th Street, Crestview Office Subdivision, and approving the sale of said property to Howard Powell Driving Company for the sum of $95,000, case P-10-14.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Sigur to open the public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We are now in a public hearing. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak or to address the council may speak after the presentation, if there is any, by our Planning Director, Mr. Hebert.
Thank you, Madam President. The subject is a portion of the Sharon Street right-of-way extending north to south between Canal Number 14 and 24th Street. The right-of-way consists of 16,872 square feet. It measures an average of 50 feet by 337.5 feet. The portion of the right-of-way is improved and it dead ends at Canal Number 14. It's located adjacent to the Howard Pyle Driving Development Site, which is located along both sides of the right-of-way, located on squares 34 and 35. The right-of-way is located in an area that's zoned light industrial and consists primarily of warehouses and storage yards. Howard Pyle Driving is proposing to purchase the portion of Sharon Street right-of-way from the city to incorporate it into their development site and to be used as a privately controlled access point. Due to its isolated location, the only vehicles that use the subject right-of-way are those that are associated with the actual company. With regards to utilities, Entergy has indicated that they have an existing electrical facility that's located along the Sharon Street right-of-way. Entergy and Howard Pyle Driving have signed an agreement to cash contribution aid of construction in which Howard Pyle Driving will contribute to the reimbursement cost to have Entergy remove and relocate the existing facilities. In addition to that, Jefferson Parish has indicated that they have an 8-inch water line along the east side of the right-of-way. Jefferson Parish requires a 20-foot water servitude, and at the request of the Jefferson Parish Attorney's Office, the City of Kenner will reserve a water servitude in favor of Jefferson Parish over the right-of-way. Also, Veolia Water has requested continued access to their 2 sewer servitudes that are located along the west side of Sharon Street and along the north side of 24th Street. The applicant has agreed to that request as well. An appraisal of the right-of-way was performed by Wayne Sandos and Associates dated April 2nd, 2014, estimating the fair market value of the property to be $95,000. Murphy Appraisal Services conducted a review of the appraisal on behalf of the city and concluded that the appraisal appears to be well supported. The City of Kenner has indicated that the right-of-way is not needed for a public purpose. The right-of-way is located in an isolated area of the Crestview Industrial Park. It bisects the Howard Pyle Driving Development site and dead ends at Canal Number 14. Based on review, the Planning Commission and the Planning Department recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Hebert. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address the council this time? Seeing no one, motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Segura to close the public hearing. Council members, please vote. And our apologies to the audience as well for our technical difficulties. I think you all understand that sometimes technology can cause quite a few problems as it is doing tonight, but thank you for your patience.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Segura to approve.
Madam Chairman, I've received a request. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I've already given you the motion. We've already seconded you haven't pushed your button, sir. Okay, we're still having problems. Councilman Carroll, would you like to address the council, the administration, the audience? I'm trying. There's nothing for me to push from here. Let's see. Let's try this. I think I got you.
There you go. Thank you, Madam President. This is one of those occasions that none of us on the council and the administration, we can't foresee the future, obviously, but this is like a windfall that happens outside of our regular budgeting to be able to have assets or financial gains for the city to be able to use it to go forward towards improving infrastructure capital within our city. This is one, the $95,000 for the sale, but understanding that all of us had the conversations that while it is a gain financially, we should always be aware of to have the opportunity for our Public Works Department, specifically about streets, for Jefferson Parish, or for any utility company to have the right to come in and to address concerns, especially now during the hurricane season, that we have to address. And more importantly than that, these are our city assets, just like we have assets for the United States that we are proud of, and to be sure that when we are presented with opportunities to possibly gain funds, we take in consideration how it's going to affect the overall community, how will it affect the city, and how will it affect us in the future to be able to ensure that the people who come behind us have the opportunity to be served and to have these sometimes historic issues in place. So we are aware of this. We are concerned with this. It's also good to be able to help other departments that obviously need it because things have been tough. Every department within the city of Kenner have gotten cut. So this is an opportunity for us to help twofold, to be able to sell off something, but to help different departments within the city of Kenner, specifically District 1 this time, but in the future, other districts throughout the city. So I will be favoring this particular sale myself of the street for the $95,000. But I also would like, my colleague, I would like to propose a motion, also an amendment to this. And that amendment would be to dedicate 24% to the City of Kenner Police Department for their capital project within District 1, and then the other 76% within District 1 for street improvements within the Lincoln Manor subdivision. And I would like the clerk to read, just to make sure we all are understanding and getting the correct verbiage as we go forward. Madam Clerk.
We have a motion by Councilman
Motion.
Carroll, and we have a second by Councilman Segura. Would you please, at this time, Madam Clerk, read the amendment?
Yes, ma'am. Section 8, that 24% of the sale proceeds, $22,800, be dedicated to capital projects for the Kenner Police Department and District 1. And Section 9, that 76% of the sales proceeds, $72,200, be dedicated to the Lincoln Manor subdivision improvements, more specifically Augusta Street and Tifton Street projects.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing no discussion on the amendment, would everyone please vote on the amendment itself?
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
The amendment passes, and now we're back to the original question. Is there anyone who would like to discuss to further the discussion? At this time, Councilman Reno.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to congratulate all of our council members up here because we worked all of this out ahead of time before coming here, and now we're selling something in Kenner, in District 1, but the funds are not just going to that district where in the past they've stayed in that district. We're now looking at this as a citywide, instead of being tied to our district only, we're actually using this money citywide to help citywide projects. So just thank you all, and I'm in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Reno. And I'm just going to echo one quick statement, and that is that we have to stop being so provincial. We have to work together. The city moves forward if every district moves forward. No city can succeed if only one district moves forward. And this shows the kind of cooperation that we all can have. Thank you, Councilman, for all working together on this. Seeing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding Resolution B-16526, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the buildings located at 3665 Martinique Avenue, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Councilmember Reno, seconded by Councilmember Klein, to open the public hearing. Council members, please vote. We are now in a public hearing. Mr. Aber, do you have a presentation?
No, I don't.
I do.
Who does?
Amy, I'm sorry, Ms. Vallow, you have the presentation.
Good evening. The structure in question is a two-story apartment complex constructed on slab foundation bearing the municipal address of 3665 Martinique Avenue. The property is owned by Chase Home Finance. In October 2013, it was determined that this property was unsafe and dangerous under the building codes for the City of Kenner, as well as Section 5-57 et al. Of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Kenner. On October 25, 2013, a notice was sent via certified mail to the property owners advising them of the property and building violations. The addresses were found via search engine. Another certified letter was sent on April 9, 2014 to Chase Home Finance and received on April 22, 2014. And on August 8, 2014, a notice to appear was sent to Chase Home Finance via certified mail and received on August 11, 2014 to appear before the City Council for the purpose of a public hearing. On August 28, 2014, my office received a phone call from a representative of Chase Home Finance indicating that they would not be attending today's City Council meeting. As of this date, the violations have not been corrected, nor have there been any attempts to comply. Additionally, this morning, I sent out my chief building officer to re-inspect the premises, and he indicated that there has been no repairs on the property. The City of Kenner also contracted the services of an engineer, and it is noted by the report of the engineer retained by the City of Kenner, who provided the following reasons of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abandonment. All utilities have been disconnected. Some of the windows and doors have been boarded up. Severe wood rot observed on all of the exterior porches. Evidence of severe roof damage can be seen through the window at the front eastern portion of the structure. Columns supporting the second-story porch on the east side are missing, compromising the front building's structural integrity, thus causing the porch to slightly sag. Columns supporting the second-story porch is also missing on the southeast side of the building. The middle and corner column to the second-story porch on the west side of the property is also missing. These missing columns make the porch structurally unstable. Due to the missing columns, the western porch is structurally unsound, is in imminent danger of collapse. The remainder of the building poses a safety hazard due to the current condition of the structure and the front porch. Based on the report of the engineer, the structure is a serious public hazard, and recommends the city take the steps necessary to declare it a public nuisance and have it abated by demolition or brought up to current city codes and ordinances.
Thank you, Ms. Vella, for your presentation. Is there anyone from the audience wishing to address the council? Seeing no one, motion by Councilmember Reyno, seconded by Councilmember Klein to close the public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, seconded by Councilmember Klein to approve. Councilman Reyno, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Amy Vallow, for all your hard work in getting this. You know, we've been working on this for months, and I appreciate the fact that we're getting this down now. This is definitely a safety issue for the, for the area, and I ask for all of my colleagues' support on this. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 11,758, an ordinance repealing and rescinding ordinance number 9325 and providing for related matters. Madam Chairman, I've received a request to defer this item for one meeting.
Motion by Councilman Reyno, seconded by Councilman Conley to defer this or to defer for one meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to defer for one meeting.
I need to address the council for a minute. I believe it would be appropriate to have a council committee to look into this particular ordinance since we have looked at it and decided that there are some problems with the ordinance that is now in place. Therefore, I would like to ask Mr. Conley, Councilmember Conley, if he would chair that committee. Councilman Conley, would you be willing to do that? Thank you. I also would like to be on the committee. Councilman Reyno, would you agree to be on the committee as well? And Councilman Segura, would you agree to be an alternate on that committee? Thank you. We will get together after this meeting and start to organize and decide when we should meet. Thank you very much.
No motion, just.
We may now move
We
forward.
also recognize a representative from the city attorney's office, I believe. Clarify that for me?
Pardon me?
Would you like to clarify someone from the city attorney's office to sit on the?
Yes, I'm sorry. I should have done it at this time as well. Mr. Powers, I believe at some point I would like him to be part of this committee. And Mr. McConnell, when we have Mr. Duke McConnell, when we have questions involving finance questions, we would like you to also be included in those meetings. You won't have to attend all of them, but as needed, we would like you to be a resource for the committee as well. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution approving the appointment of Michael, excuse me.
Madam Chairman, in accordance with Council Rule Number 6, could I please get a motion and a second and a vote on your committee of the council?
Thank you for that clarification, Council Clerk. I appreciate it. Moved by Councilmember DeFrancis, seconded by Councilmember Klein on our committee and the appointments to that committee.
Thank you. Can she needs to specify the chairman.
You never did that before.
Okay. Okay, council members, please vote. Good catch, Lee.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution approving the appointment of Michael J. Power as interim city attorney for the city of Kenner.
Moved by Councilman Conley, second by Councilman DeFrances. Is there any discussion? Mr. Mayor, you have the floor.
You know, as I said earlier in the meeting, this has been a tough week for us in the city of Kenner since last Friday, finding out about Lewis's death. But, I have to look out for the best interests of the citizens of Kenner, who we're elected to all serve. And I want to make sure our city attorney is led in the right direction it needs to go in. We have a good group of people down there, starting with our deputy, Ms. Lee Roussel, who did a good job steering y'all in the right direction on that committee a few seconds ago. And we want to continue with that. And we have some good people that we work with outside the city attorney's office. And Mr. Power, as I said, Mr. Gruntz was actually hired by Von Vondenstein over in Jefferson Parish. Well, prior to that, Mr. Power worked for Mr. Vondenstein out here in the city of Kenner, starting in 1971 when Mr. Vondenstein was the city attorney. Von was actually the first appointed city attorney in 1974 when the city was chartered. So Mike goes back to when the charter was written. And I don't know if there's anybody more versed on the city of Kenner's charter than Mr. Mike Power. And I'd ask Mr. Power to come up in case any council members have any questions for him. But Mike has sat alongside many mayors at this table as a representative from Ansardi, Maxwell, and Power, who was the city's attorney prior to 2006 when we brought the city attorney's office in-house. And saw on Facebook, former Deputy Chief Administrative Officer Carol Luna said, an outstanding choice, and I'm sure the council will all ratify Mr. Mike Power. And Carol worked with Mike her entire career. And many of us all know him. Everybody in the city attorney's office knows him, worked for him in some way, shape, or form, including some of the staff itself, the non-attorneys, worked for him privately at the firm. For those of y'all that don't know, Judge Weidenstein was like Lewis. They were both attorneys and engineers. And Von did some pretty good things in his lifetime, and two of which was hiring Mike and hiring Lewis, in my opinion. And I'm glad my grandfather had a good city attorney and a good parish attorney, and I'm glad that two of them started with a Yenny and have finished their careers with a Yenny, and I'm hoping Mike stays with us for a while because he brings a wealth of knowledge back to the city of Kenner, where he spent pretty much most of his 40 years. And I ask for y'all's ratification and support of him, and believe me, I think Lewis would be very happy that Mike will be filling his shoes in the city attorney's office. They were actually supposed to meet on Tuesday to dissect the city charter and get it ready for the first charter committee that Councilwoman DeFrances is in the process of getting everything set up for, because we want to keep that moving along. We have a lot of things happening in the city, and all of them involve the city attorney's office. I think no one better than Mr. Power and Mr. Conley know that. And we want to make sure y'all's questions are answered, y'all's ordinances are drafted, things that have to happen for the council will happen, and Mike Power is going to be the guy to make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Conley.
Yeah, all I can say is wow. I mean, 7 or 8 years ago, Mike Power recommended me for the position of city attorney, and I told him only if he'd hold my hand. And he was my mentor for all that time, and to have him come before us today to be ratified is a no-brainer. I have all the respect in the world for Mr. Power, and it's going to be a privilege to work with you again, and thank you for everything you've done in the past for the city and for really stepping up to fill this huge void. It's just typical Mike Power, so thank you.
Councilman Reno.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say God is truly blessing the city of Kenner. And I believe our friend Louis Gruntz is up there and talked to him and said, hey, this is the guy we need to send down there to continue on. And we all should be grateful. And I know he had a hand in it. I firmly believe Louis had a hand in sending the right person down. And I'm definitely going to support, and I ask for all my colleagues' support.
Keith, if I can add, I do read Mr. Reno's Facebook pages, his personal pages, and he starts every day off with a very good verse and a good prayer and some good sayings. And I tell you, my administration, as well as the Muniz administration, which I was a part of as the CAO, have been blessed by the gifts God has given us and the people that have come to work for this city, who have given up careers in the private sector and probably taken cuts and pays to be part of working in government and public service and serving the public. And And no question, you're absolutely right. Things just seem to fall into place, and it's not because they just do. It's because there's a greater power making that happen, and a greater power making that happen, as in Mike Power. So no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Keith. And I thank you for those comments.
Amen.
Councilman Sigur, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've been involved with the city for over 35 years, and Mike has been there that whole time pretty much. So I do recognize his tenure and the work he's done with the city during my tenure with the police. And we used Mike for a lot of our issues, and I worked with him hand in hand on those issues. So I certainly do recognize his true talents in the city and welcome him. On another note, though, I would like to just make a comment. Mike Glazer, Mike Yenny, Mike Quigley, Mike Sigur, now the power to the mics. Thank you.
Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And, first, I hadn't said it yet, but I'd like to give, from myself and from the residents of District 1, our condolences to the Grunts family. I didn't know him real well. Actually, I only met him a few months ago, but generally a nice guy, good person to talk to about things from his vast years of experience. So, but as things happen, Mr. Powell here, he and I have met a couple of times, and I remember, Mike, it was about a sale of a street, Dr. Pipe, if I'm not mistaken, that you and I met on, and when Attorney Shaw was here, through that relationship, we met about that. So that's when it was. I also want to say that, my relationship with former councilperson Irving, who was a mentor, a great family friend, Judge Johnson, who I believe used to work with you in some capacity in the law firm, have always spoke highly of you, about your fairness, about your expertise. And I don't believe there's many people within the city of Kenner that would have the experience that you have of working with a number of mayors and go so far back and to have the institutional knowledge of the city of Kenner. So obviously I will be supporting you in this. I look forward to your wealth of knowledge about the city of Kenner to be able to help, all of our residents, the council, and the administration. So congratulations and good luck, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Klein, you have the floor.
Mike, welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. Powers, it speaks volumes that no one asked you a question. It shows the confidence they have in you. Thank you for offering your service to the city of Kenner, and we welcome you here, and thank you.
Madam Chair, may I say a couple of things?
Absolutely.
First of all, Louis Grunts and I, our paths crossed a number of times through the years. He was mentored by the same person that I was mentored by, the first appointed city attorney for Kenner, Hubert Vondenstein, who is to this day the most brilliant lawyer I've ever known, and could bring people together and accomplish things. It's unfortunate that this vote has to be taken tonight. I had the highest regard for Louis, as did all of you. I've been assured by the administration that Mr. Connolly has set up the city attorney's office to run by itself, and I'm counting on that. And as I know virtually everyone in the city attorney's office, two of them used to work for me. So I appreciate the confidence that the mayor has placed in me by asking me to take this position, and I appreciate the kind words of the council, and I hope that you will never be disappointed. I will always be fair. You may not like my opinions, but opinions are opinions. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. We are now going to vote. Council members, please vote and lock in your votes. Always waiting for anyone else.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Thank you all very much. I certainly appreciate it, and I know we're going to look forward to working with Mike in the future and keeping this city on the roll that it's on right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on.
Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A, summary ordinance number 11,759, an ordinance approving repairs to 2007 Vector Unit 6052 by All Trans Service Incorporated, an authorized dealer in the amount of $6,804.58 for the Department of Sewerage.
Moved by Councilman Reno, seconded by Councilman Impastato. Everyone, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 11,760, an ordinance ratifying the emergency repair of the air conditioning system at the Old Theater in the amount of $5,059.63 by Building Control Systems LLC for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Moved by Councilman Reno, seconded by Councilwoman DeFrancis. Everyone, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 11,761, an ordinance approving an agreement with Design Engineering Incorporated for resident inspection services in connection with the rehabilitation of the affluent pump station project in an amount not to exceed $125,000 for the Department of Public Works.
Moved by Councilman Impastato, seconded by Councilman Klein. Would you like to make? Councilman Segura, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Jose, this is one part that I place some ignorance on. What is an affluent pump station?
That's improvements to the pumps that exist at the wastewater treatment plants.
So the affluent is a whole project, not
That's
just
phase one of improvements to the wastewater treatment plant. What we're doing under this phase is replacing 6 pumps, okay, with higher capacity pumps to improve the capacity of the sewer treatment plant from 42 million gallons per day to 63 million gallons per day. And what this is doing is just provides inspection services for a 1-year construction period out there.
Thank you.
Everyone, please vote. Lock in your votes.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 11,762, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 2 MSA Product Evolution 6000 thermal imaging cameras from Casco Industries Incorporated in the amount of $13,080, utilizing the City of New Orleans Material and Supply Agreement K13-1234 with Casco Industries Incorporated for the Kenner Fire Department.
Moved by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Segura. Seeing no discussion, everyone please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 11,763, an ordinance ratifying the emergency purchase of a ShoreTel VoIP telephone system in the amount of $13,092.64 from Black Box Network Services Incorporated Government Solutions, utilizing State of Louisiana contract number 409462 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Moved by Councilman Klein, seconded by Councilman Connolly. Any discussion? See no discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 11,764, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from BB Products LLC for the supply of masonry supplies on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 14-6234 and an amount not to exceed $50,000 per year for the Department of Public Works.
Moved by Councilman Impastato, seconded by Councilman Reno. Any discussion? See no discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 11,765, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from BLD Services LLC in the amount of $484,267 for the Roan Lift Station Replacement Project in accordance with seal bid number 14-6231 for the Department of Public Works.
Moved by Councilman Klein, seconded by Councilwoman DeFrancis. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, everyone please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15H is summary ordinance number 11,766, an ordinance approving amendment number 1 to the engineering agreement with Hartman Engineering Incorporated regarding Kenner Hansen City Sewer Lift Station improvements for LS 4102 Airline Drive, Mendon, and LS 4103 Firehouse Road, which increases the maximum agreement amount to $214,927, and in order to accommodate an expansion of the scope of work to include additional design-related services.
Moved by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Segura. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance designating and naming the Office of Inspection and Code Enforcement located at Building B, Suite 100, 1801 Williams Boulevard, Kenner, Louisiana, 70062, the Matthew Jr. Chiro Office of Inspections and Code Enforcement. Item 16B is an ordinance approving an amendment to the agreement with Direct Source Home Renovation, LLC, regarding the furnishing and installation of vinyl sidings and related exterior improvements on an as-needed basis, which increases the maximum agreement amount to $300,000 annually. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Louisiana Lift and Equipment Incorporated in the amount of $17,349 for the purchase of one JLG 2630ES scissor lift or equal in accordance with letter bid number 14-1519 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16D is an ordinance approving the host agreement with Amateur Athletic Union of the United States Incorporated, AAU, regarding the 2016 AAU Girls Basketball 5th Grade Division 1, 2, and 3 National Championship Tournament. Item 16E is an ordinance approving an agreement with NY Associates Incorporated for professional services concerning Kenner 2030 plan for West Esplanade Avenue Duncan Canal improvements in an amount not to exceed $918,136 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16F is an ordinance approving an agreement with All South Consulting Engineers, LLC, for professional services concerning Kenner 2030 plan for Erlanger Road median Vintage Drive to Lake in an amount not to exceed $133,728 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16G is an ordinance approving an agreement with GEC Incorporated for professional services concerning Kenner 2030 plan Power Boulevard median improvements, West Esplanade Avenue to Vintage Drive, in an amount not to exceed $152,854 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16H is an ordinance approving an agreement with ECM Consultants Incorporated for professional services concerning Kenner 2030 plan for Williams Boulevard Vintage Drive roadway drainage and enhancement improvements west side of Williams Boulevard in an amount not to exceed $122,423 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16I is an ordinance approving an agreement with Burt Kleinpeter Incorporated for professional services concerning Kenner 2030 plan for Williams Boulevard Airline Drive intersection improvements in an amount not to exceed $107,567 for the Department of Public Works. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees.
Does anyone, Councilman Reno, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. The Kenner Rivertown Theater is going to have a special performance of Shrek the Musical a week from tonight. And all of the proceeds from ticket sales are going to go to KPD to buy bulletproof vests. The tickets are only $20, and normally these performances are $40. So you're getting the tickets for half price, and all of the money is going to KPD. In addition to that, we've received some other donations to help out. We're going to offer coffee and desserts complimentary between 7 and 8, or 7 p.m. till showtime. And those are going to be provided by Labella's Catering, Jandusa Family Delights, and Winn-Dixie. Also, we're going to have door prizes there. So I'll put a little flyer by each council member, and I hope all the council members will attend or try to attend. Tickets can be purchased directly from the theater. You can call the box office, or you can go online and purchase your tickets. So all of the ticket sales are going to be handled through them. And I want to thank Gary and Kelly with the theater for donating this theater and its performance for KPD. So it's a great way for you to see a show, mingle with some people and have a good time, and help the police department. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Reno. And it says that 100% of proceeds will help purchase bulletproof vests for the Kenner Police Department, so it's right on there, which will be great. Anyone else have any comments? Mr. Mayor, Chief Glazer, I believe, is ahead of you. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, that's fine.
Would you mind terribly?
That's fine. I hit the wrong button, no problem.
Beat you to the punch, huh?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Reno, I'd like to thank you for organizing this and bringing it up, because what a lot of people don't understand is these bulletproof vests have a life cycle. They're only good for 5 years and need to be replaced. They're custom fit for each officer, so they're useless when somebody either retires or quits that wears one. We don't recycle them. We use them for training purposes only, but so it's an ongoing expense. So anything you can do to defer the cost of these vests is appreciated.
Thank you, Chief Glazer. Mr. Mayor, you have the floor.
And Councilman, I wanted to thank you also because, when the chief's predecessor, Chief Caraway, and I would meet, talking about the police's capital concerns, that was always an issue. So anything we can do outside of, governmental funding to try to raise money for the police department is commendable, and thank you. You're a very big supporter of Theater 13, and I thank you for that. You've brought a lot of people to that theater, and you continue to do it, and they're doing some great things down there. I'm looking forward to Shrek myself, so I think it's going to be a good performance, and I'm doing everything I can to make that event that night. So thank you. And I did want to stress, too, because I will not be at the next council meeting, but on October 2nd, unfortunately, you all have a council meeting. I suggest you end it early and go to Chateau Golf and Country Club for Kenner's Food and Wine Experience. That's a great event. It's very well attended. It is to promote Kenner and Jefferson Parish restaurants. It's in its 4th year. All proceeds go to whatever charity the committee selects that year, and it's really grown, and it draws people to Kenner. I know that Lieutenant Governor Darden even plans on coming by because he's heard about it and said, "What is this? I want to be part of that." And so he even wants to come to see what type of draw it has, and it may be something that can even grow even bigger than it is right now. So try to vote as quick as you can and make sure y'all head over there. I think it starts at about 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock. I know Councilwoman DeFrancis and I were there for quite some time last year, and Chief Caraway said last year that's one event, whether he's chief or not, he will never miss. So, and of course, Chief Glazer's his designated ride home, so we're glad for that. So just wanted to put that out there, and if y'all can mention it at the next meeting, just to remind people about it. Great event, open to everybody. I think the tickets are $75, but it's food and wine all evening, basically.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, we're being asked to keep our comments very, very brief at that meeting, so I'm sure we'll all make the best effort we can to do so. Seeing no other comments, please let's move on.
Yes, ma'am. Item 18 was taken earlier in the meeting. Item 19 is unfinished business under motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position.
We have none.
Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Mr. Martin Short, would you please come forward?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm here to talk about our kids' fair that we have been planning rapidly in the past 3 weeks, and I want to thank first Councilwoman DeFrancis and Councilman Connolly for all their time and help in what we got to this far. But because of the threats of tremendous thunderstorms and major logistic problems, I'm sorry, we'll have to postpone until next month. It's just impossible to put on this Saturday.
Well, we're sorry that that has to happen, but logistical problems in rain can cause quite a problem. And I know the Children's Safety Fair is something that has been going on for quite a few years, and a lot of people have attended and benefited from it. But we have to look at safety first.
Yes.
Because that's what it's all about for our children. So I'm glad to see that we're going to do everything, possible to make it go forward in the best way possible.
Yes, ma'am.
And make sure that we follow whatever procedures are necessary to make it a good event.
It will be. And thank you again.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Al Morello.
Al Morello, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 42 years. I got an exhibit here I would like to pass out to each council member. Somebody would pass this to each council member, please. Relative to the safety rating of our city, which was discussed in here at the last meeting. Now, however, I would like to make one correction. I stated we were ranked 38th. We're ranked 29th out of 39 cities, which is still a far cry from what the mayor would have this council believe and the public. Now, let me say this. When the facts are presented and the facts, one chooses to ignore the facts or distort the facts, I'll say a person like that has three problems. Number one, they're out of touch with reality. Number two, they're in denial. Or number three, they're just plain delusional. I also want to say that at the conclusion of the last meeting, while the mayor was on his way out of the door, he tried to provoke me. And I think that was very unprofessional and very unbecoming of someone in his position. And I want to say this, I got my own quote, and I quote this. This is my quote. The bigger the lie, the more people will tend to believe it, including the perpetrator of the lie itself. Now, I mentioned 3 times where I got that information from the Times-Picayune. Maybe the mayor wasn't listening. Maybe he was too busy playing around with our cell phone. Now, I want to extend, on a brighter note, I want to extend my condolences to the Grunts family as well. I also want to commend the Republican Professional Women of Greater New Orleans. I want to commend Ruth Rosales and her husband, who's a member of that group, for the wonderful work that they do with our veterans. Anybody got any comments, any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morello, and let's try to keep our comments as professional as possible. Thank you. Okay, we now have Mr. Jack Seawee.
Thank you, Madam President. I think the quote of the century is Al Morello recently commented that the mayor was delusional. That's what I'm just saying. Jack Seawee, 3221 Illinois Avenue in Kennert, Louisiana. A recent comment was made stating, referencing Ben Franklin, any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. I've received a lot of criticism of access to public records. Those who choose to do so do not know the facts. Here are just a few. The law provides for access to all public records. There is no limit to the number of public records requests that can be filed. Out of respect of the city attorney's office, I imposed a limit of 12 this year. I met that limit. My lawsuit filed on May 6, 2014 was not filed against the city of Kenner. The person most responsible for access to the public records was sued personally, as the law requires. Judge Mollison awarded court costs plus attorney fees to the plaintiff, me, on May 30th of 2014. In his ruling, Judge Mollison stated, denial of access to public records caused the lawsuit to be filed, end quote. As a side note, Judge Mollison commented later that day to a personal friend, I just did not feel comfortable tagging the defendant, Mr. Grunts, with a fine. He's such a nice man. End quote. I agree with the judge. That was not the question. If the question of whether Mr. Gruntz was a nice man, I would have never filed a lawsuit. He's one of the finest people I've ever worked with. The law specifically calls for a lawsuit to be filed when access to public records is denied. I followed the law. In the history of this country, not one confidentiality agreement regarding the lawsuit against a public body and a subsequent public records request filed where public money was used to settle the lawsuit has been upheld by the courts. Not one case anywhere. Some public records requested in April and then again requested at trial on May 30th have not been provided as of today. A judgment in favor of the plaintiff, me, for the court cost has not been paid. The city did pay the attorney fees. In closing, any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. Who was Mayor Yenny talking about when he made this statement publicly on August 21st, 2014? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ziwi. Is this Ross or Rob, can you tell? Yes? Mr. J.C. Ross, I hope I have the name correctly pronounced. Pardon me, I was having a hard time reading.
You know what to do over here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is J.C. Ross. I live at 3000 Jasper Street in Kenner. I just have a brief statement on some of the stuff that went on earlier with Mr. Wilmot and Mr. Smith on the drainage and the canal issue in Lincoln Manor. We met, it was on the 3rd month, 9th day of 2012 at the 30th Street and, well, they call it 13th Street Canal and the Duncan Street. And part of that issue, which they said they didn't get it in the state budget, which on the 3rd month, I was told that it would be in the 2013 issue for that grant. Also, they had promised us back in that subdivision 2 pumps that they was going to put in to translate the water. And these are the words they said: the water runs from South Kenner to North Kenner, which I was kind of confused at the time. They said the water runs from South Kenner to North Kenner into the lake, that they were going to install 2 more pumps to help the water, which would drain Lincoln Manor subdivision from the flood issue, which was coming up. And they were pretty sure that they were going to have it installed by 2014, which now they're saying that they don't have the money in the budget, that it wasn't even inquired in the budget. Also, at the time, on that, they met at the Civic Association meeting, which they was talking about 30th Street, that resurfacing of 30th, which I talked to Mr. Jose about 30th Street, which he know about it. It is need resurfacing real bad now. At the time, that was part of it. Mr. Jose wasn't on board at the time that we walked 30th Street. We walked the Duncan Canal, the 13th Street Canal, and also the 12th Street Canal. Mr. Reddy was sitting in at the time. We also had the council assistant, Spear. His assistant came out. We also had Mr. Transcrant, if I'm saying his name right, from the Jefferson Parish Public Works. These issues have been on table, you know. It started in 2011, but the issue of study building up, which we asked about the canal with 30th Street was one of the issues, the draining. We also was talking about the erosion of the canal itself, which they are in very poor condition. They are digging them out now by the Duncan Street, but you notice the 30th Street side, they never taught it. They did the side by the interstate. And the other thing I wanted to say while I'm here also, I want to commend the mayor and his staff that came out to our meeting on the 28th, which he gave a nice presentation, and a lot of the people in the first district in Lincoln Manor was very thrilled from the information that he led us to, that we wasn't aware of. The code enforcement people, they've been working diligently with us. We want to thank you, Mr. Sigard, on that grass cutting issue. I noticed today they cut it again, and they are really doing a magnificent job on the cutting after we did, the survey of it. Mr. Ken with the Recreation Department, I met with him, and everything been running smooth, and I want to thank you all for the job. When we ask, for something, we know we can turn to you all to get help. I spoke with Mr. Carroll on different issues, and a lot of stuff, I haven't been president of Civic Association but this 1 year, but he have helped me out. Like you all say, y'all new elected officers, and y'all were saying y'all need help. I also need help within the community, and all us working together can keep Kenner in a forward motion. Thank you.
Mr. Klein, you are first, Councilman Klein.
No, I thank Mr. Carroll.
No, you were first, sir.
Oh, I didn't press anything.
Your name is on there. If you would like to be off, you're off. Councilman Carroll, Mr. Klein is declined, so it's your turn.
Back again. Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Councilman Klein, for your being a gentleman and letting me go first, even though you didn't press the button, but I digress. Anyway, Mr. Ross, I'm sorry you left before I had an opportunity to stop you. First, I want to, thank you on your newly elected position as the Lincoln Manor Civic Association president. Your predecessor, Ms. Davis, and during her tenure, which was about 5 to 6 years, did a fantastic job. You have some big shoes to fill, but you have stepped in, 100% into doing the things that has brought the subdivision along with the code department, planning department, everyone, public works. The Lincoln Manor subdivision, in my opinion, is looking a whole lot better. Even all the things that can get done, we can never fix anything, but I think as long as we strive to keep going forward to improve it, it will happen. Under Ms. Valide has stepped in from Attorney Shaw when she was there to address the concerns of the citizens, the taxpayers, and we're doing a good job. I would like to say when Mr. Reddy was the Public Works Director, most of our conversations and most of my conversations were with him. We addressed things from safety about the canal, about pumping, about flooding, about everything that it can imagine about the canal, the erosion. And like I said earlier, I have to be able to take some of this blame too, not to be able to facilitate some of the funding that it's going to take to address the concerns that we have to be able to get additional monies. And, like I said, I apologize to the Lincoln Manor subdivision. I will not make that mistake again. Mr. Gonzalez and I have talked about getting together after the meeting and sometime real soon to address exactly what we have to do to ensure to give our state representatives, our senators, an opportunity to fight for us to get the monies that we need for the Lincoln Manor subdivision. So, as it relates to the Recreation Department that's coming along, Mr. Maricoli, and all of the city departments, we realize it's a big challenge. But we appreciate yourself, the city, the Lincoln Manor Civic Association, to bring it to our attention, and it is our responsibility to address it. Will we be able to solve everything? No, we won't, but it is our responsibility to address everything and to see what we can do along with the mayor, the administration, and this council. So thank you again. I look forward to working with you and to alleviate a lot of the challenges we have in District 1. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Would you like to make
And Mr. Ross, before you sit down, on behalf of Jose and Ms. Vallow and of course the chief, we enjoyed being at the meeting the other night. It was very well attended. We even brought Dr. Glazer to help promote the Discovery School to Lincoln Manor to try to help get the enrollment up at the Discovery School if it needs help. And I know that Mr. Maricoli contacted you, and y'all are supposed to meet to try to resolve whatever issues. Please, let myself and Mr. Maricoli know anything else we can do to resolve those issues, and we look forward to coming back to you in the future.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Maricoli. met with me today, and we got those issues taken care of with them. And I also want to thank Mr. Glazer for his presentation at our meeting also.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Segura, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge, I see a young Boy Scout out there. Would you please come forward? Yes, please come up here. Give us your name, troop number, and explain your reason for being here.
My name is Philip Garrett. I am in Troop 269. Out of St. Christopher School. I am here completing a merit badge. I am doing citizenship of the community, and this will help me move up in rank.
Thank you. I just want to point out, we have two Eagle Scouts, Councilman Conley and myself, so we certainly are looking forward to you perhaps getting...
I'm proud of you.
That's what I said.
Proud to have you as a...
But again, I think that's what you were here for, citizenship in the community, and we look forward to seeing all of the Scouts come forward. I am still active. I'm on the board of directors for the Boy Scouts of the Southeast Louisiana Council, so I still have an active role and work with the troop that I'm associated with and help our boys get their merit badges, and hopefully you don't have much longer to go before Eagle.
I'm actually star rank.
Star right now, okay. How far before life?
About a year.
A year?
It takes 6 months.
6
but
months?
I need like leadership hours and stuff, so.
Okay. If you ever need any help, though, I'm sure Councilman Conley and myself would be happy to give you some information on your road to Eagle. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, meeting is adjourned. Moved by Councilwoman DeFrancis, seconded by Councilman Segura.